Hey guys, this is Coach Addo, and I wanted to do a video on the 6-2 volleyball system. So 6-2 is an offense where all 6 players are hitters and 2 players are also setters. I'm going to try to give you all the information you need to know about the 6-2 in this video, and you and your parents can look at it, kind of see what's going on, and get familiar with what we're doing. Before we begin, I want to talk about our 5 commandments. There's things I'm not covering here, such as have fun and all that kind of stuff. But let's look at some of the things we want to make sure we commit to doing for each other. All right. So number 1, thou shalt pass, set, and hit. 3 touches per possession. If the other team sets you on the front row, that's the only time where we're really going to not cover this commandment. If they set you, you may immediately hit and show them why we don't play the ball to the front row. So that's our 2nd commandment. Thou shalt not set or pass the ball to the opposing team's front row. See commandment 1. If you can't hit or spike on a 3rd touch, then play the ball to the other team's back row. Number 3, thou shalt block and dig everything. This is how your mom knows you're working hard and shows you deserve a frozen yogurt on the way home. Number 4, thou shalt talk and cheer and celebrate and console your teammates. Love on each other. You're a team. We work as a unit. And finally, thou shalt be on time to practice and to games. Let's talk about some roles and responsibilities. Here are the basics. You know there's a front row and a back row. The front row is close to the net. The back row is close to our server. We will play basically 3 positions in 6-2. There are 2 of each position on the court. 1 of each in the front row and 1 of each in the back row. On the lineup, which you're always welcome to look at, we'll have players marked as X, H, and S. This isn't a standard nomenclature. This is something that I came up with to help me build a volleyball lineup. In the front row, when our team has the ball, we have outside hitter on the left as you face the net, middle hitter in the middle, and weak side or offside hitter on the right. So that's our our H, X, S. H for outside hitter, X for middle blocker or middle hitter, and S for weak side or offside hitter. I'm going to call the hitter on the right weak side because offside sounds too much like outside to me. So outside, weak side, left and right, H and S. X stands for the blocker. And let's look at these positions on the court. See the maybe I should have come up with another word, another letter instead of H and X. Those are hard to say. See the H, X, and S positions. So on offense in the front row, again, outside hitter, middle hitter, and weak side hitter. The 6 in 6-2 means 6 hitters. Everybody's a hitter. When we're on defense, the front row positions become blockers. So outside blocker there, middle blocker, or just blocker, weak side blocker, and while on the back row, the S player is our setter. This position will have some special responsibilities, so I made her token red so you can easily spot the setter. I'll come back to the setter in a moment. The other 2 players in the back row, the X and the H, their job is to pass to the setter. I'll probably refer to them as left and right backs. So from 1 to 6, here we have right back, weak side hitter, blocker, outside hitter, setter, and left back. Okay, so you're going to start each game in one of these rotational positions. That's the invisible Roman numeral on the court that does not move. Many times these are called right back, left back, middle front. I'm sorry, right back, right front, middle front, left back, and middle back. But since I'm going to be calling non-setter players in the back row left and right back, I think I'll try to refer to rotation positions as 1 through 6, those Roman numerals, so we don't have to worry about confusion. You'll rotate around the court in a clockwise fashion like you're used to. However, in 6-2, you have a role and responsibility. Outside hitter, blocker, weak side hitter. Your role responsibility remains the same for the entire game, no matter what rotation spot, what Roman numeral you start the rally in. At the beginning of the game, we're going to tell you your outside hitter, your middle blocker, your weak side hitter. The only change is when you're back row versus front row. When you become a setter in the back row, then you become a setter, a right back, and a left back. One of the first things you do after the server makes contact with the ball is to move so that you can get into place on the court dictated by your roll. We're going to spend most of this video looking at the roll positions and animations showing how we get where we should be and when. So I hope you're excited about this. If you're confused a little bit or nervous, have no fear. We're going to spend a lot of time looking at examples that will hopefully make this super clear. We talked about the red setter. So here, the setter, S1 in red, this is the primary setter and should always be the second touch. The other S, the blue setter, she is going to be the weak side hitter. We want them to block and attack when they're in the front row. So I've started everyone in basically the right position for their role. No matter where you are in rotation, 1 through 6, we want to play a rally with our outside hitter on the left, our blocker in the middle, and our weak side hitter on the right. That's where they are now, so that's great. If they weren't already set up like that, sometime after the server makes contact with the ball, we'd need to move. Before the serve, everyone has to be in relative rotation order. So let's take a quick moment to talk about that, where it's legal to be positioned before the serve, either our serve or the other team's serve. Each player needs to worry about at most 3 other people on the court. Before the server makes contact with the ball, the number 1 player must be between the 6 and the sideline and behind the 2. The server is the only player who may start the rally outside the court. The 2 player must be in front of 1 and between 3 and the sideline. Okay? The 3 player must be between the 2 and the 4 and in front of the 6. The 4 player must be in front of 5 and between 3 and the sideline. The 5 player must be behind 4 and between 6 and the sideline. And finally, the 6 player must be between the 5 and the 1 and behind the 3. So let's move everyone to a legal position on the court, and here we are. See here, everyone is aligned appropriately to the players around them that matter for their rotation position. So let's look at a couple examples. Okay, so here's where we are in our rotations, 1 through 6, and let's rotate to a totally legal serve position. Okay, so you can look at everybody and see that everyone who was in their position, they are still between the players they needed to be, in front of the players they needed to be, behind the player they needed to be. They haven't gotten out of position. That X1 and X2, they're kind of close, but you see that X1 is behind X2, and X2 is in front of X1. X1 is between S1 and H1. X2 is between H2 and S2. So if we back them up and see where they started and watch them move, they're still in line everywhere they need to be. So this is a totally legal serve position. Here's another one just for funsies. I don't know why we would ever do this, but that is totally legal. This kind of is what it looks like after somebody gets a good block. Everybody goes and high fives, and the server gets ready to serve. Then you got to get back to your spots. But that's totally legal. I don't know why we do it, but it's totally legal. Okay, so let's get into good pre-serve positions. The key here is that we want our front row to be ready to block anything the other team does. So get up on the net, ready to block. In the back row, most importantly, is our setter. She will need to set from about where the blocker is on the second touch of every rally. Since our blocker is there on defense, she needs a home on defense. She can't stand on top of the blocker. The blocker needs to be able to move. So we'll see this in a moment as well. For now, she just needs to pull up and get ready to move to home. Finally, since our right back is serving, our left back is going to shift over to cover the big gap that is going to be left by our setter. So let's see that. There you go. Everybody's in their spot. Setter's ready to move to a place that we're going to call home. The right back is still inside the setter who is at the 5 position, still behind her X2. Our setter really can't move any further to the right unless our right back also moves, but then they'd be kind of in front of the server, so they're okay where they are. So now on service, our server is going to serve the ball over the net. As soon as our server makes contact with the ball, we're allowed to move. So the serve is going to go, and then we're going to move. So you see that? We just gave the other team the ball, so we need to get into what we're going to call our base defense, and this is it. This is where everyone will need to be every time the other team has the ball in play. We will do something special on serve receive. We'll look at that in a bit. So we just served. Our setter moved home. somewhere in that area there in the orange. Our setter should try to stay home and not make the first touch. Our setter wants the second touch. She can't have the second touch if she got the first touch. So what can the team do now that they have the ball? There's really two things that could happen. First, the other team could attack the ball from the left, the right, or the middle. And in that case, we should be thinking block, block, block. We're expecting them to attack the ball, to hit it hard, to spike it, whatever you want to call it. Secondly, the other team could just pass the ball over the net. We're going to call this a free ball. We don't actually have to block, so we can drop into our base attack formation. Let's look at those direct attacks first. So how do we react to an attack from the weak side hitter? That's a hit from their left or their right side, our left. Our middle blocker is going to slide over to block the attack. Our outside hitter will also go for the block. The offside or weak side hitter will drop back to cover in case of a tip or a dink. This is called cover. A tip or dink is a light shot designed to drop over our blockers. Our setter is going to stay home, but she can slide slightly toward the middle to help defend in an emergency. The left and right backs will shift to cover big open spaces on the floor. So let's look at this from the right. If they are hitting with their outside hitter coming from our right, same kind of deal. Our middle blocker will slide over to cover the attack with our weak side blocker. The outside hitter drops back, and the setter slides over to cover that tip or dink. Again, only in an emergency. We really want that X1 player, the H2 player there to cover the tip or the dink. If our setter must make a play, she'll play it high in the air and call help or setters out, something, so that someone else can play the ball deep to the other team and we'll reset to base defense. So in this case, if our setter, our red setter S1, has to make the play, then hopefully they're going to set it up, which we'll look at here in a second, and then maybe S2, who's also a setter, can come over and set our outside hitter H2 there for the big hit. We'll look at all that here in a little bit. Okay, on middle defense, things change just a little bit. Our middle blocker will take the attack head on, and we're going to drop back. So do you get the idea that our middle blocker does a lot of blocking? Yeah, she's meant to be a blocking machine. Our outside and weak side hitters will drop back to defend the tip. Again, our setter stays home and watches carefully. The other back row players are going to cover those big open spaces on the floor and be ready to move. Okay, so let's talk about that. The front row is for blocking. The middle blocker plays the length of the net to block everything. She goes from side to side no matter where an attack is coming from. That's why I call her blocker. Her primary job is to stop the other team from making an attack. Outside and weak side blockers block when the play is from the outside. When the play is from the middle, outside and weak side blockers drop back to protect against a tip or dink or deflection or a missed block. Okay? Let's look at that free ball. The second thing the other team could do is bump or pass the ball over the net. This is called a free ball. You generally can't reach a free ball to block it. Our blockers should try to contest every shot made over the net, but if they're just passing the ball over, we get to move immediately to base attack formation. And that's it. So whoever gets the ball first is going to pass the ball high to the setter's second touch location. This is our passing target. Note that you aren't passing to the setter. She's going to be going to her second touch spot, that big green target there. You're passing to the spot. The setter's going to get there. Trust her. Okay? So again, don't pass to the setter. Pass to that green area on the court. Pass to the spot. Okay? The setter is going to get there. She's then going to set. Okay, we've covered each of the roles and we've talked about blocking and who plays setter and where she tries to be and where we pass so that the setter can set. So let's talk about the phases of the game. As I will describe it, there are 4 phases: service, base defense, base attack, and serve receive. We'll look at each of these phases from 3 rotations. First though, why only 3 and not 6? There are 6 positions on the court after all. Here we show 6 Roman numerals on the court. What you'll see is that after 3 rotations, we're in the same positions as when we started, except that our front row players are in the back and our back row players are in the front row. All the 1s will move up to where all the 2s are. The first rotation here is a little special. If we rotate once, you'll see that our current setter, the red token, moved from the back row to the front, which means that our old weak side hitter is now our setter, and our old setter is now our new weak side hitter. So let's fix our tokens, colors, and styles. Our setter is always the red token, and our front row players have a shadow under the token and a thick black border. Now let's rotate again. Same setter as the last rotation. And that's all 3 rotations, because if we rotate again, we're back to the same positions as the first rotation I showed. So let's start with service for our first rotation. I call this natural because our front row is already where they want to be during a rally. Our weak side hitter is on the right, our blocker is in the middle, and our outside power hitter is on the left. Recall that we can move on ball contact and we can be anywhere on the court so long as we're legally aligned with the sidelines and the 2 or 3 other players adjacent to us. So in our natural rotation position where the front row won't need to shift, we'll just move the setter up so they're close to their home position on the attack line. The front row is at the net because as soon as we've served the ball, we transition into base defense. So let's put the ball in play. On contact, our setter moves home and then our server takes her spot as right back. This is base defense. Base refers to home base. This means that our setter and our front row are in their home base positions. Again, outside on left, blocker in the middle, weak side on right, setter at attack line just right of center. We've started in natural position, so the only shift was the setter. Everyone else was already home. Once we rotate again, we'll see those shifts in more detail. Okay, position 1, serve receive, attack, defensive transition. Ready? We'll make the cup for serve receive. In this, it means we've slid our outside hitter and our weak side hitter back behind the attack line to serve receive. Our setter is hiding in a legal position behind someone else. She must not make the first touch. On ball contact, our setter, S1, wants to move directly to second touch location. She needs to make sure she's not impeding anyone's ability to play the ball. Again, she does not play the ball herself. Once it's obvious that our outside hitter and weak side hitter aren't receiving the serve, they slide out ready to make a hit. Our middle hitter gets ready for quick set and attack as well. The pass to our setter, then all front row hitters move anticipating a set and a big hit. Lastly, our setter goes home and our blockers are at the net ready to block. We end at base defense with everyone in correct position according to their role. That was position 1. Let's rotate to position 2. Again, note that S1 was in the back row and is now moving to the front row. S2 is in the front but is moving to the back. And that's the beauty of 6-2. I also believe that the setter has the most responsibilities of anyone on the court, and they really have to hustle. We can't always make great passes, especially on serve receive. So having more than one setter allows our setters to get a little rest, and they can reset a bit. It also allows everyone to hit, which is honestly one of the most fun aspects of volleyball. Let's look at service first. So everyone moves into pre-service positions, and now serve. Now in this rotation, we're not already in our base positions, so as soon as our server makes contact with the ball, everyone on the front row shifts to get to their base position, which is defined by their role. Our setter also goes home. We should end in base defense. Now serve receive from this rotation, again, everyone will move to form the cup, our outside hitter and our weak side hitter dropping back, our right and left back shifting over, and our setter needs to go hide. Again, she can't have the first touch, she needs to be the second touch. On ball contact, our server will move to second touch position. That spot on the floor in the middle by the net where everyone will make their pass. So let's put the ball in play. Here you see the pass going before the setter is in position. She'll get there. Just make a nice high pass somewhere between the attack line and the net so she can make a good set. She's going to set to the person on the outside, and boom, nice cross-court attack. You'll see that I've labeled this just attack and not base attack. On serve receive, no one is shifting but our setter. Again, we're in rotation position on the front row. See that? Our weak side hitter is on the left, our outside power hitter is in the middle, and our blocker is on the right. For this to be base attack, everyone on the front row and our back row setter need to be in their places determined by their role. That means that our hitter should be on the left, our blocker should be in the middle, and our weak side hitter should be on the right. So what do we need to do? We need to shift into base. During the serve-receive phase, we'll shift after we play the ball over the net. So we've covered 2/3 of our phases and shifts. Let's do the last rotation we need to look at. Again, we rotate. Our setter remains in the back row, so we don't need to change setters. We just have a different shift from this rotation. Let's move to pre-service positions and serve. Pretty easy. As soon as our server makes contact with the ball, our front row shifts into base position, finishing in base defense, again because the other team has the ball. Our setter was able to start in her base position pretty easily. Now serve receive and defensive transition. Let's make the cup again for serve receive. Once again, our setter is hiding. As soon as the server makes contact, our setter will move into second touch position. Once again, we're showing that we can play from our rotational positions and shift to base D after we play the ball over. So here our setter makes a nice set to our outside power hitter who makes a big cross-court attack. Once we get the ball over the net, everyone shifts and finishes in base defense before the other team can play the ball back to us again. And that's really it. I hope this video was informative and maybe even entertaining. I hope this helps you get a good understanding of what we're going to try to do this season and for the next few seasons if we continue to get to play together. I really hope we do. I love playing volleyball with you guys during the week. If I missed something or if you have questions, give me a call or ask me at practice and we can figure it out. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.